Ah, Avatar. What the bloody hell was that all about, eh? Who knows? Certainly not me. But my word, did it look amazing. And yes, despite some obvious flaws, I really enjoyed it. So then, having now seen the trailer for Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I'm more than a little worried that it might turn out to be a bit shit. And as weird as this sounds, that might be your fault and mine. To find out why, join me, Big Dave, after my short but snazzy theme tune.
Big Dave's Big Reviews. Big Dave's Big Reviews.
Alright, so before all 10 of you lot who actually watch my videos start yelling, Big Dave, you wonderful but naughty clickbaiter, please hear me out. Whether you loved or hated Avatar, the figures speak for themselves. Reuters calculated that it grossed more than Titanic if you adjust for inflation. Sorry, I'll not mention inflation again, what with things being the way they are right now. And them lot of Guinness World Records had it as the second highest grossing film behind Gone with the Blinking Wind. Impressive stuff, eh? So whatever way you look at it, Avatar was a massive financial success. And why was that exactly? Was it the deep and intriguing plot that kinda sort of completely ripped off Pocahontas but with added unobtainium? That still makes me laugh. On a side note, I hear Avatar 2 will feature a new, even rarer resource called Cringeanium. But the answer is obviously no. It wasn't the plot that made the film such a huge success. So maybe it was the stellar cast and fine acting. Well, Sam Worthington is a solid actor, and I'll always love Sigourney Weaver, but nah, it plainly wasn't that. Nah, Avatar had two things going for it. The music, which was good, but interestingly could have been even better. I'll leave a link in the description below to a brilliant video explaining this far better than a simpleton like me could. But most importantly, Avatar had groundbreaking special effects. The kind of special effects that make you sit up and go, bloody hell, look at that. Particularly when seen in 3D. And let's be honest here, Avatar aside, most 3D in 3D films has been a bit shit. So why then the concern for Avatar 2? Well, it's pretty simple really. I thought the trailer looked like an incredibly beautiful Pixar film. I'd read literally nothing about Avatar 2, I wasn't aware of any ongoing discussions about the CGI before I saw the trailer, and before it was halfway done, both me and Mrs. Big Dave thought it looked like a cartoon. I can remember seeing Avatar 1 at the IMAX and again at home, and never once did I think it was cartoony, so why the change now? Well, firstly, my hunch is that in the time since Avatar was released in 2009, us movie watchers have advanced more than the CGI technology has. In particular, our ability to spot it has outgrown CGI's ability to fool us. And the reason seems pretty obvious to me. We're overly exposed to CGI these days. Now you smart cookies don't need me telling you that the usage of CGI in cinema has gone up significantly over the last 20 years, and forecasts show this trend is only going to continue. And I get it, it's a lot cheaper to get some nerd to computer you up a dinosaur than try and film one in the wild. But just maybe, the more you watch CGI, the more you're subconsciously training yourself to spot it. It's like sport, the more you practice, the better you get. And given how oversaturated modern cinema and TV is with CGI, we're all training harder than Cristiano Ronaldo right now. I always think back to Jurassic Park. CGI was still new and really expensive, so they used it sparingly. Now you tell me if those effects don't still hold up well today, nearly 30 years later. Now I presume that producers look at the potential cost of building sets, doing practical effects and dangerous stunts and say, bollocks to it, let's CGI the lot, baby. And so our CGI spotting training sessions get more and more frequent. Secondly, there's the advances to our tellies, and in particular their definition. Now as far as my research shows, Avatar was filmed in a mix of 2K and 1080. It's a complicated topic, and no one seems to really be sure, certainly not me anyways. But regardless, it certainly wasn't shot in the 4K UHD we'll be expecting for Avatar 2. And as Michael James said in his blog, 10 reasons why CGI is getting worse, not better, quote, CGI is far from perfect. But when the delivery format was celluloid and SD, it masked the imperfections of CGI and made everything look more realistic. Filmmakers furthered the illusion by purposely compositing CGI into poorly lit scenes and behind elements like smoke and rain. Now, with the stunning clarity of 2K and 4K, and even more so with HFR, we're starting to see the cracks in the pavement. As resolution increases, CGI is becoming less convincing. And I have to say I agree with him. Since getting my own 4K telly, I've noticed myself becoming far more aware of CGI than before, and that's not just with new stuff either. I've even noticed that some films I'd seen previously in lower definition and thought the CGI looked good, now look a bit ropey in 4K. Next is the extra colour saturation. I watched both of the Avatar and Avatar 2 trailers side by side on repeat, and Avatar 2 is noticeably brighter. It's a trend I've noticed in most CGI heavy films. The VFX guys seem to open their colour palette and decide to go fucking mental. Take a look at these two pictures here. The one on the left is from Avatar 1, the one on the right from Avatar 2. I tried to get a shot with as similar lighting as possible and both in broad daylight. Clearly the Avatar 2 picture looks much better in many ways, but does it look noticeably more realistic? Not for me. If anything, it's the opposite. And I have to wonder whether it's the richer colours that play a part in this, along with the higher definition. To repeat, I'm not saying the Avatar 1 picture is better, but the modern trend to push to colour saturation definitely makes it harder for our eyes to believe what we're seeing is natural, and I worry that this is the case for Avatar 2. Now, whether Avatar 2 does look more realistic than Avatar 1 is obviously subjective. Many of you would disagree. And remember, realism isn't the most important thing to a lot of people. However, I'd argue if it doesn't look and feel real, then it's basically an animation. Again, like a Pixar cartoon. Don't get me wrong, Pixar films are great too, but I have very different expectations from them than I do from the Avatar series. To make things worse, if there's one thing CGI really struggles with, it's realistic underwater scenes. Now call me a numpty if you like, but something tells me that Avatar 2, The Way of Water, might feature quite a lot of underwater scenes. There's been plenty written about how advanced the VFX water technology is and that all the water in the film is CGI. I don't doubt that, but from the admittedly tiny sample of water scenes in the trailer, I'm not seeing anything massively convincing yet. So let's compare this to a film I've just reviewed, Top Gun 2 Maverick. At this point, I'd usually plug my other video, but no one's going to watch it anyway since my review came out 3 months after the film hit cinemas. It's not my fault. I couldn't get Mrs. Big Dave to watch it with me at the cinema, and I'm not one of those geezers confident enough to go on my own. Anyways, one of the standout things for me about Top Gun 2 was how realistic the action scenes were. As I said in my review, the action sequences looked so authentic because they are authentic. The cast trained for months to cope with G-Force and then was stuffed in real FATs with absolute nutters for pilots. In a funny way, my brain actually noticed how real the scenes looked, probably due to the surprise after thousands of hours of CGI action I've been spammed with lately. Trust me, there's no CGI in the world that can make Tom Cruise's face squish up that realistically. The human eye is pretty good at knowing when something's just not right, especially with faces, and Top Gun 2 at least passes this test. Now I know Avatar doesn't have this option. I expect the entire film will have to be green screened from start to finish. So is that more or less likely to make the special effects jarring? I reckon it's going to be more. As amazing as I'm sure the CGI will be in Avatar, there's really no substitute for real lighting. So you'll nearly always get better results lugging some big green screen out to the set somewhere than doing it in a studio or on a PC. Again, not really an option for Avatar 2, not being set on Earth and all that. So let's compare to another recent CGI heavy film, Avengers Infinity War. According to what I can find out, only 3% of the shots in Avengers Infinity War didn't feature CGI, but of those remaining 97% of scenes, most weren't entirely CGI all of the time. It's a fairly safe bet that Avatar 2 won't be like that. In fact, from what little we get in the trailers, it looks like there's going to be even fewer real people and real sets than in Avatar. Now I'm sure most of you that clicked on this video have seen the Avatar 2 trailers for yourselves. Maybe you think they look great. They're certainly spectacular, but for me at least, they're also very noticeably computer generated. If you disagree with me, that's great. It's a subjective matter. We all see and process things differently, and trust me, I'm jealous of those of you who think it looks incredibly realistic. I'd happily swap my perspective for yours. From what I've read online, it seems like this debate about the VFX has been raging ever since the trailer came out in May. So clearly people are watching the same thing and having a different reaction. And I'm assuming these are genuine reactions and not your standard trolls versus fanboy arguments. You lot know who you are, knock it off. And who knows, maybe the trailers aren't the final render. Maybe the version we get to see in the cinema will be that much better as the post-production and VFX crews get to put the finishing touches on them. I guess what I'm trying to say in a bit of a rambly way is, Avatar wowed me back in 2009 due to its special effects. But I'm not the same me from back then, and I can prove this just by rewatching Avatar. Some bits look a bit ropey now, and they certainly didn't back then. So this combined with the challenges of using CGI in an age of ultra high definition and the modern trend of going over the top with the colour saturation means that Avatar 2 will have to go a whole lot further in that department to have the same impact. If I'm right and Avatar 2 can't rely on special effects to tickle our pickles, then it's going to have to rely on its script and Sam Worthington. Not a pretty proposition. Anyways, I'll be happy to be proven wrong and for this video to turn out to be utter rubbish. I mean, who would bet against James Cameron pulling off another stunner? Certainly not me. And that's why I'm only betting my reputation. And that's not worth a whole lot right now. Anyways, let's hope for the best and see what we get when the film comes out in December. And whether I'm right or wrong, I can't wait to see it. Bloody hell, you've made it to the end of the show. Well done you. Now, if you could be a diamond and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, that will make sure we can keep in touch in future. Please also drop a like on the video and maybe even comment below. A bit of banter's always welcome. I'd like to wish you all the best. Until next time.